Foundation, and the true leaders in mental health access. Tonight, we're all here together to focus on what remains one of the most pressing issues of our time. Let me share.
To push this controlled aspect that he and Meghan want to do. They want to control the narrative. They want to control what's put out in the media. They want to have full control of the propaganda. They don't like negative reports.
About how to embrace technology's benefits while safeguarding against its dangers. And that hopeful intention of separation is rapidly.
It's chaos wrapped in couture, darling. Picture this: a Manhattan penthouse suite so packed with tension, even the perfume in the air feels nervous. Meghan Markle's team is in overdrive, moving faster than her PR headlines. Stylists rush like they're backstage at Fashion Week, hairdryers screaming like sirens, assistants whispering orders as if the wrong word could end a career. But this isn't just another glam session. Oh no, this isn't getting ready. This is damage control disguised as preparation. Every lipstick shade, every curl, every shimmer, it's all part of the crisis management. Because tonight isn't just another event. Tonight is supposed to be the Sussexes' grand comeback. Their big, we're still glowing, return to grace. And everyone in that room knows, if this night flops, it's not just a bad look, it's a headline waiting to happen.
He's completely checked out, Dan. Even I was shocked to see how much that he just wasn't even play acting.
But before New York, there was Paris. Ah, Paris, the city of lights, of love, and for Meghan, apparently, of humiliation. She had flown in ready to snatch back her It Girl crown. The plan was textbook royal glamour. Front row seats at Balenciaga, flashing cameras, whispers of admiration, Meghan with her chin lifted like she owns the runway. It was supposed to be her victory lap, her remember who I am moment. But the second she walked into that fashion show, the air changed. The smiles went tight, the conversations hushed. It wasn't admiration, it was ice, the kind that doesn't hit your skin. It hits your ego. Paris didn't roll out a red carpet for Meghan. It rolled its eyes.
The body language. My God, no amount of PR spin is going to deal with that.
Sure, the fashion insiders smiled, but those smiles, they were paper thin. The kind that say, bless her heart, without saying a word. Meghan walked in thinking she was the muse. The room, though, they saw something else entirely. A moment that had passed. The real queens of couture barely blinked in her direction. To them, Meghan wasn't the moment anymore. She was the memory of one. And in fashion, darling, yesterday's muse is just another guest.
She approaches these two women talking. Kristen Scott Thomas is Dame Kristen Scott Thomas is one of these women. Kristen Scott Thomas refuses to make eye contact with her, so Meghan shifts her attention to the
And the whispers, oh, they were brutal. Word got out that her dress wasn't custom. It was borrowed. And worse, the tags were still on. In the fashion world, that's not a slip-up. It's a scream. Custom means you belong. Borrowed means you're just lucky to be here. So Meghan posed for the cameras like nothing was wrong. Perfect smile, perfect angles. But behind that flawless grin was panic. Because deep down, she knew. That room she once commanded, it didn't admire her anymore. It tolerated her. Paris didn't just bruise her pride, it froze her out. And when she boarded her flight back to the States, she wasn't returning home with buzz. She was bringing back frostbite. But just when Paris couldn't get any colder, Meghan made one move that turned whispers into gasps. She showed up in the one place she shouldn't have been. The Pont de l'Alma tunnel.
Absolutely none of it. He walked ahead of her. He let him shake the gentleman's hand first. He didn't look back at her. Yes, he did put his arm around.
Yes, that tunnel. The one tied forever to Princess Diana's tragic final moments. Her team swore it was coincidence. She didn't know, they said. It wasn't intentional. But come on, Paris doesn't do coincidences and neither does Meghan. Every move she makes is calculated, choreographed, camera-ready. Passing through that tunnel wasn't an accident. It was symbolism dressed as spontaneity. Insiders whispered it was meant to stir emotion, to subtly remind the world of her connection to Diana's legacy. But instead of sympathy, it stirred suspicion. People started to wonder, and was she honoring nostalgia or manufacturing it?
This controlled aspect that he and Meghan want to do. They want to control the narrative. They want to control what's put out in the media. They want to have full control of the propaganda. They don't like
And when the news broke, social media exploded. "She went through the tunnel" became the headline no one could resist. Suddenly, every photo of her that week took on new meaning. The Duchess wasn't just walking through Paris, she was walking through history she never lived. But instead of painting her as the modern Diana she craved to be, it backfired spectacularly. The press didn't see a timeless icon. They saw someone trying too hard to wear another woman's crown. And once that idea caught fire, it burned everything else with it. By the time she left Paris, the cameras still flashed, but the captions had changed. The glow? Gone. The sympathy? Evaporated. The world had started to see through the act.
Cultural Foundation and the true leaders in mental health access. Tonight, we're all here together to focus on what remains one of the most pressing issues of our time.
After Paris left her image frostbitten, Meghan didn't retreat. Oh no, she regrouped, because when she's cornered, she plots. And where better to rise again than New York City? If Paris had frozen her out, New York was her chance to melt back into the spotlight. The humanitarian awards were framed as her big comeback. But don't be fooled. This wasn't about charity. It was about control. Meghan wanted to rewrite the story Paris had wrecked. Team Sussex went into overdrive. Schedules, camera angles, lighting, even which side of her face should face the lens. Nothing was left to chance. She wanted headlines that read, "Graceful Duchess returns," not "Paris snub survivor."
Embrace technology's benefits while safeguarding against its dangers. And that hopeful intention of separation is rapidly.
So, the plan was simple. Enter like royalty, speak like a saint, exit like a superstar. And at the heart of it all, one crucial detail: the private jet. Because in Meghan's world, how you arrive matters just as much as why you're there. The jet wasn't transportation, it was theater. Every flash of paparazzi light, every step off the runway, it was supposed to scream, "She's still above it all." But behind the glitz, the desperation was peeking through. Team Sussex wasn't just chasing relevance anymore, they were begging for it. New York wasn't about elegance, it was damage control wrapped in designer silk. The stage was set, the gowns steamed, the cameras prepped, and Meghan truly believed by the end of that night she'd be back on top. But oh darling, New York doesn't play favorites. Here's where the fantasy cracked, and it wasn't quiet. Meghan and Harry's team sent a request that made even seasoned event planners do a double take. A fully sponsored private jet. Fuel, crew, champagne, the works, all on the event's dime. Their excuse? Security concerns. Translation: we don't fly commercial with commoners. At first, the email got nothing but stunned silence. You have to remember, this was a humanitarian event, not the Oscars. The honorees weren't red carpet regulars. They were people who spent years in war zones, building schools, feeding families, saving lives, not people who needed red carpets to feel seen. So when Team Sussex demanded a jet dripping in luxury, it hit a nerve. One insider put it best: you can't preach compassion while sending an invoice for your jet fuel. It wasn't just tone deaf, it was insulting. Within hours, the committee's answer came sharp and final. Denied, no debates, no cushioning, no special treatment. And just like that, the world sent a message the Sussexes hadn't heard in years. We're not buying the act anymore. The humanitarian mask had slipped, and underneath, people saw the brand, not the cause. And here's the truth: this was never really about a jet. It was about power. For years, Sussex was a golden ticket. Every room, every board, every red carpet. The answer was always yes. Hollywood, nonprofits, world leaders, everyone bent over backward to accommodate them. But this time, no hit differently. It wasn't logistical, it was symbolic. The message was crystal clear. The special treatment era was over. Suddenly, Meghan and Harry weren't the dazzling rebels who defied Buckingham Palace. They were just two celebrities scrambling to stay relevant. The shine had faded, the novelty had worn thin, and the world, it had started to move on without them. That private jet denial became the moment everything cracked. It wasn't just about travel, it was about power slipping through manicured fingers. That no wasn't a rejection of logistics. It was a reality check. It reminded them that their influence had limits now. And nothing cuts the ego deeper than realizing your name doesn't open every door anymore. Insiders whispered Meghan took it personally, not because of inconvenience, but because of what it meant. To her, this wasn't about planes or security. It was about status. That denied jet wasn't a booking issue. It was a public demotion. For years, they'd built an empire on curated privilege, on the illusion that they were both victims and visionaries. But now, that empire was shrinking. The world didn't flinch anymore when it told them no. Reality had walked in, unfiltered, uninvited, and brutally unforgiving. When the night of the big event finally came, the glamour felt off, like a movie set trying too hard to look expensive. No private jet, no royal treatment, no special entrance, just a plain black SUV inching through Manhattan traffic like every other car. For a couple used to velvet ropes parting on command, it was humbling, painfully so. Inside the car, silence, the kind of silence you can feel. Harry stared out the window, jaw tight. Meghan, phone in hand, scrolling through headlines that hadn't even published yet, monitoring every narrative, every possible spin. The fairy tale entrance they'd scripted had melted into something painfully ordinary. And when they finally stepped out, cameras still clicked, but the energy was different. The flashes didn't roar with excitement anymore. They sighed with obligation. Photographers got their shots, sure, but no one fought for the angle. The frenzy that used to follow Meghan's every move had fizzled into polite apathy. The smiles, mechanical, the charm, scripted. Meghan's eyes darted too fast. Her smile held too long, like she was performing for ghosts. Harry looked exhausted, like a man who'd realized he couldn't PR his way out of this anymore. Inside the venue, the applause came. Soft, restrained, distant, respectful, but empty. The couple who once commanded global attention now blended into the background like expensive wallpaper. The words slithered through private group chats and industry back channels like designer perfume in a closed room. Potent, unforgettable, and just a little cruel. Because in Hollywood, perception is power. And the perception was shifting. Publicists who once fought to have their names next to Meghan's were suddenly reevaluating. Fashion houses that once lined up to send her gowns started politely passing. Even media outlets that once thrived on Sussex stories were quietly dialing back coverage. The buzz was changing pitch, from fascination to fatigue. Behind closed doors, insiders were merciless. They've lost their pull, one stylist allegedly murmured. It's giving post-royal burnout. Another insider quipped, New York doesn't deny power players. It denies liabilities brutal, but true. Meanwhile, Meghan was reportedly furious. Not because of the inconvenience, but because of what that no represented. Control, her favorite accessory, had slipped right through her manicured hands. In Meghan's world, image isn't just everything. It's the only thing. Harry, though? He looked like a man too tired to fight it anymore. A man worn down by trying to rewrite a narrative the world no longer cared to read. And so, the once golden couple, the Duke and Duchess who once had the globe hanging on their every word, found themselves quietly edged out by the same glittering world they tried to command. Not with scandal, not with a royal feud, but with silence. Because in the end, that's the cruelest twist of all. Fame doesn't always end with a bang. Sometimes it just stops echoing. And as whispers replaced applause, the message was undeniable. Even royalty can't outrun relevance. Once upon a time, a jet was their stage, their symbol, their throne. But tonight, as engines stayed cold and cameras lost interest, the Sussexes learned the one lesson they'd spent years avoiding. The higher you fly, the harder it is when the world decides you've had enough airtime.